In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being by him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. Hey, well, hello. Welcome to the Jewish Road Podcast. We are here again, episode number 54.
Wow.
Yep. My name's Matt, and your name is?
My name is Daddy-O Ron. I'm still here.
Well, that's good. We'll take you for as long as you can. You're a little pricey. You're a little high maintenance, but we'll keep you around here.
Yeah, not pricey, just high maintenance.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not high maintenance.
My goodness.
What are you talking about?
If ever there was high maintenance.
Oh, my gosh.
The amount of, if you could just see what I have to deal with over here, it's unbelievable.
Man. And vice versa.
You should travel with him. That's a
boy.
piece of work right there.
Oh, man.
All right. Well.
Fetch.
Fetch. And oy vey. This podcast, we actually had the title came to us right away. It's called
Oi to the world.
Oi to the world. Yeshua's come. Right?
Well, that's not the oi.
Oh, that's not the oi.
No.
We're going to get into the oi because, boy, I had a meeting. I had a Zoom call. And if you don't know the setup, my office is here at their house because it's quiet here. And, well, actually, that's why I started to have my office here. And I'm reconsidering it now because it's not. You had so many rants this week. You were on fire. You were on the other side of the house, and this is not a small house.
Yeah.
And you were loud.
Well, had a lot of stuff to say.
You were fired up, man.
We hit the time of the December dilemma.
The December dilemma. You mean the holiday fusion and confusion.
The fusion and confusion.
That's right. Because it's really hard to be Jewish in this season of Christmas, right?
Well, it has its challenges.
Yeah. By the way,
that's why we call it Oi to the world.
Speaking of Oi to the world, do you remember on like the first couple of podcast episodes that we did, we were very like we would turn the pages on our Bible very carefully. We didn't want to like make any noise. We were like, it's got to be professional, right? We're gonna make this really. And then you started coughing, and it was like, this is never going to happen. We just got to be ourselves. But then the other thing, I don't know if people can hear it. I can hear it even through the headphones. Sarge upstairs. Who's Sarge?
Oh, Sarge.
Sarge is large and in charge.
Yeah, Nana K.
Nana K. The lady. I mean, so we are literally, we say we're in the basement here, and we're in the basement. That means there's a couple of floors above us, and we're not. Who are the people that wear the clogs? Is that the
Dutch?
The Dutch. There you go. The Dutch. She's not wearing clogs on those wood floors up there, but you would think so. You would also think that she's wearing size 13 Triple E shoes.
Hey, you know what? You're on your own.
It's okay. I have a hunch she doesn't listen, and if she does, we'll deal with it. It's all right. Is that all you wanted me to read here from the notes that you said you wanted me to say about her?
Don't you give me that.
All right. Hey, before we get into it, tell me a joke.
Oh, back to the Catskills?
Make it a good one.
Well.
By the way, this is our penultimate podcast episode. We have one kind of itty bitty one after this.
Okay.
It's a Sarge podcast.
Okay. Well, here's one. This is a story about when I was a kid, we played stickball out in the street all the time. You know.
It's like baseball, but...
It's like baseball, but there's something called hit the bat, but we played stickball.
Go watch The Sandlot.
What's that?
Go watch The Sandlot.
Yeah.
You'll know what stickball is.
Yeah. Well, that was it. No, stickball was in the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And so being out in the street, one of my friends he hit the ball and he broke a neighbor's window with the baseball.
Oh, boy.
So his father came out and said, "Herb, what'd you do?" And he says, it was an accident, Dad. I hit the ball and went through the window. He says, well, what did he say to you when you broke his window? The dad came out. What did he say to you? Herb says, do you want to hear what he said? with or without the bad words? Well, without the bad words, of course, his father says. He says, well, then he didn't say anything.
Do you remember? I was probably like 5 years old. Do you remember our neighbors, the Higginbothams?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember there was the Higginbotham twins, the
Yeah,
girls,
the
right?
girls, yeah.
But they had the biggest like front yard with the biggest grass area, and it was the same thing. Everyone said don't play ball, or if you're going to play ball outside of the Higginbothams, use a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
And do you remember what I did?
You broke a window.
I did. I hit it right through the window, and it was one of those moments where all the kids in the neighborhood they ran home, and
Well, that's what we did.
yeah, and I'm standing there with the bat thinking, I better get out of here. I ran down there, and I'm crying because I was scared, right? I broke the rules, and I come running into the house, and Mom sees me crying, and she says, what are you doing? And I'm holding the bat in my hand, and I'm crying. I said, nothing. She said, were you over at the Higginbothams playing baseball? I kind of shook my head no, and then I said, yeah.
Now you added lying to it.
Yeah, right. It's like double jeopardy. And she said, well, did you hit? Yeah, no, you got to hit the button and then cough. You can't cough and hit the button. My goodness. Well, maybe we'll edit that. Who cares? So anyway, all of that to say, it's really distracting with all your coughing over there. But I go over there and she says, well, did you hit the ball? And I said, yes. And so I had a choice. She said, well, you got to go down there and talk to Mrs. Higginbotham. And do you remember Mrs. Higginbotham?
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy. She had a shadow.
Yeah.
She was, especially when you're 5 years old, that was a large lady.
Yeah.
And I remember going over there and like knocking on it. Felt like you were at the door of the Addams family. She came opening the door and it's like Sarge a little bit. But, Kay's not that. Kay's very, she walks 4 miles a day and she's just perfect.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah.
Where do we go? We got off track.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So
What is
much
this?
for a short
But,
podcast.
well, we did all jokes and stories, and so let's just get 3 minutes of content in there, and let's go. All right. The December dilemma. What do we do with the Hanukkah bush? Let's talk about, you get a little bit cranky this time of year. You're a little bit Ebenezer Scrooge-esque.
Well, I do. I have a hard time with this time of year. I didn't have a hard time with it before I was a believer.
Ah.
I mean, it was fine. But once I
did you
found out what the thing was all about,
The thing.
the Messiah and who he was, and I saw what things were happening. I mean, listen. Let me say, I know I have friends who are true believers, and they love the fact that the Messiah came and he was born, but. When I look at Christmas by and large out there, I mean, I would be fine sitting down and having a dinner with the family and maybe even giving some little gifts to the kids. But to talk about the coming of the Messiah, talk about the Old Testament prophetic word indicating when he would come, where he would come, who he would be, and talk about the fulfillment of that. But my experience is that does not happen too often.
Okay, wait, hold on. So what you just said, like talking about when he would come, where he would come, we actually did something on that. We wrote an ebook, 30 pages. I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
We wrote that much, but it's 5 questions that every Jewish person should be asking about Christmas.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, because I've been marinated in this my whole life, right? I never knew life before. There was not I've always been the regenerate form of myself, but there was never me before the Lord and me after the Lord. It's just I grew up in it and never knew any difference, right?
Right.
But you, on the other hand, were a total pagan and heathen before you came to the Lord.
Well, no, I wasn't a pagan and heathen. I was Jewish.
Well, you were a Jewish pagan heathen. Well, you were Jewish, but
I
you
was
were
a Jewish non-believer.
There you go. But what was Christmas like for you before you were a believer? You were Jewish. You were in New York a little bit. You were in Norwalk, California a little bit. But what was that like for you as a Jew before Jesus?
Yeah. Well, I would have to say that, I appreciated the holiday, all of the trappings about it. Of course, I didn't relate anything of any significance to it. Santa Claus was just as much a part of Christmas as Jesus was, maybe even more so.
Maybe they were even buddies, that they hung out a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And as a kid, you could get confused as to which one came down the chimney. But
The incarnation.
you know,
Everybody's leaving.
I'm being facetious here, but yeah, I remember, thinking about Santa Claus and thinking about the reindeer and Rudolph and all of these things. And I mean, after all, Irving Berlin, one of the great Jewish composers, wrote White Christmas. So there was something about it that we could tap into, even though it wasn't ours. And so to the extent that, that existed, I could appreciate it, even though we didn't celebrate it. We didn't celebrate it in our house at all. There were no trappings of it or anything like that.
No Christmas tree.
No trees.
No honey
no
baked
lights,
ham.
No honey baked ham. Yeah, no. So, there was nothing. But at that time of year, there was Hanukkah. And they came close together. Sometimes they overlapped like they will this year.
Yeah.
But we didn't really go into Hanukkah as a big deal. But over the years, I think in the 20th century, more and more Hanukkah started to become the Jewish Christmas. In fact, there were many Jews who celebrated Christmas, even though they didn't believe any of it, but they just liked the idea of all of it.
The stat is about 30% of Jewish Americans today celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, wow. So, I think they celebrate it in the same way that a lot of quote-unquote Christians celebrate it. It is just kind of a cultural thing.
Right.
And so they're tying into American culture to that extent, kind of the same way that we celebrate Thanksgiving.
Well, and totally divorced from anything having to do with spirituality. It's just a cultural thing, right?
Yeah. So
it's the one time that you go to church service, right? You go to a Christmas Eve service and you sing the songs and the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, these quote unquote Christians go to church on 2 times a year on
Christmas and Easter.
And Easter, yeah, and Jews go to synagogue twice a year on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
I'm not making a blanket statement out of everybody here, but there is a cultural aspect that has impacted both groups. And when you're growing up in the 20th century and you're living in mixed neighborhoods, I mean, it wasn't like this when I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn. We had a predominantly Jewish neighborhood. The schools all closed on the Jewish holidays. But when we came to California, it wasn't like that. We were in mixed neighborhoods, and all of the neighbors and all of the kids, they all got presents. They got 10-speed bikes, and they got this and that. And,
Mark Boston got Mike Tyson Punch-Out. That was the most jealous I've ever been as a Jewish kid.
Yeah. Well, you see, and that kind of stuff happens. So, parents don't want their kids to feel left out. So, I understand they want to give them some gifts and say, here, we have Hanukkah. You remember, he's not for you, but we have Hanukkah. And so we do that. But I wouldn't have a problem. And I talk to, I have friends, Jewish friends who are believers, and they go through the same struggle that I go through. Messianic rabbis go through the same struggle that I'm going through. We all commiserate with each other, and none of us would have a problem sitting down, having a nice dinner, and talking about the incarnation, talking about the coming of the Messiah, God coming in flesh, the Messiah being born. That's the focus. And the real issue of it is, there was no commandment given in Scripture for us to...
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. You're jumping ahead the script.
Well,
hold on. Just
I'm following.
Hold your kishkas for a second. It's very easy for you because you were at that generation that first generation where it wasn't even like Messianic Judaism. Like it was such this like Jews don't believe in Jesus and there was no conflict for you. And then I grew up with something totally different where it's like, well, this isn't even an option. I've never had a Christmas tree. I don't miss it. It's okay. I don't need it. It's okay. But I will talk to some people. They're my Jewish friends. They believe in Yeshua. They believe in Jesus. They're Messianic Jews. And every once in a while, you kind of they'll hear something. They'll say, "Yeah, we got a tree this year. We got a tree." And it's like they feel like they let down Moses, basically, right? Like, and I think that's how I would feel if I ever did that. We let Moses down, but it's like we gave in, and then like the song "Another One Bites the Dust," starts to play in your head, but that generationally continues to get more and more difficult. Whereas there is a small human living in our home who says, "Why can't we get a tree in the house?" Right? Like because she's looking around, or he. I'm not going to say it's a she or a he. It's somebody in our house, but looking around at all of the cultural thing, and for her, it's a missing out on.
Yeah.
She wants to, or he wants to participate in what's going on with everybody else, and I get it.
Yeah.
And that's why, just quick pitch here, go check our blog page because Marilee took over. She did a blog takeover, and she wrote a blog post called "To Tree or Not to Tree," which I thought was very clever. But walking through a little bit of this is how we deal with this in our home, and this is how we are navigating this as like third generation Messianic Jews living in America.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes an issue of identity. Who are we? And the accusation from the Jewish community is that we joined the other side.
Already, that
Yeah.
without ever putting a tree
Yeah.
up or without even
And
celebrating
yeah,
Christmas.
and once you put a tree up, it's like inviting the rabbi to lunch and ordering a ham sandwich.
Right.
It's like the persecuted joining the persecutors, and so it's just you have given up your Jewishness, in the eyes of the Jewish community, and we don't want to do that, and so we hold a line, I guess you would say, on how we celebrate, what we celebrate. Listen, Jesus never celebrated Christmas. Paul never celebrated Christmas.
Oh, wait, did Jesus ever have birthday parties where all of the? Do you think like the disciples came around the corner with a cake or something?
It was not a big deal in those days, and there is no commandment given in Scripture that we celebrate his birth. Now, is it wrong to remember and observe it? No. We should remember and observe it, but we should do it, in a way that honors the Lord and focuses on the birth. When we do this, there's no command for us to celebrate Hanukkah either, but we do it as a remembrance of something significant that took place. The fact of the matter is that the issue of the birth of the Messiah was not efficacious in procuring salvation for anybody. It was what was going to happen down the road. And so he came into the world, it says in the Scripture, for this purpose. He was born to die, and the focus really is on the death. That is what we're commanded to celebrate. And there are two ordinances given to the church, and both concern his death. One is baptism, and one is communion.
So this is where I think you're a little bit you're a dogmatic human being overall. Just overall, you're dogmatic.
Woof, woof.
Yeah. So, but this is where I think you go a little too far. I have friends. I have Messianic friends. Why do we keep saying? I think both of us have said several times we have friends.
Yeah.
Maybe we feel insecure about this.
Maybe after this we won't have any.
Maybe we won't. That's okay. Nobody's certainly gonna, have us come over to their house for their Christmas lighting, their tree lighting. But where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Oh gosh, you're doing it to me. You're making this happen to me, and I don't even know what I was gonna say now.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's just gone. Is this
Wasn't
what it's
that
like?
important?
I guess it wasn't. I have no clue what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
Is this what it's like? I'm going to stop being able to hear now, and I'm going to start muttering to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go into a room and forget why.
This is what I was going to say.
Oh,
It's
no.
back. Oh, gosh, you do
That happens too.
Wait, I got to talk about it before I forget. I think I forgot again.
You know, it's like the Jewish guy who gets pulled over by the cop. And the cop says, you know, you were speeding. He says, I know. He says, why were you going so fast? He said, I had to get where I was going before I forgot where I was going.
Oh, there you go. That's good. I think that there is there's something with I have friends. That's what I was saying. I have friends. There you go. We should just hit stop, but it doesn't matter. They want to celebrate Christmas so bad that they've tried to make Christmas Jewish. They don't call it Christmas. They called it Yom Yeshua.
Oh,
The day of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yom Yeshua, we're going to celebrate his birthday. We're not going to do it with trees or presents. We're just going to celebrate. We're going to read Luke 2, and we're going to read some Messianic prophecies and all of that stuff. And that, even that. So I appreciate.
so far, I think it's okay.
Yeah, of course you do. I appreciate it. I just, if he was not born, the incarnation, when I hear what you just said, rewind it 5 minutes ago before I started forgetting everything, but when I hear what you say, it feels like, I mean, and this is a very you thing, this is the half glass empty, but we got to talk about the death. It's all about the death. It's all about the death. We couldn't even talk about the death if there was no birth, if there was no
that's
incarnation.
Right. It's not all about the death. You're right. He had to be born, and we should remember that.
Yeah.
And God went to great pain to put all of that in the scripture so that we would know when he arrived. It's not something to ignore. I'm not saying ignore it.
So what's wrong with a little bit of presence and a little bit of American hoopla? This is what we do with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It rubs you the wrong way.
Well,
Is there something
I think the thing that bothers me is I know so many people who get into the celebration of all of this, and I think this is me. It provides the opportunity to get caught up into something that it deceives them that they really are when they're not. And so the deception it's an important issue and matter. And if you focused it the way I said and really look at it in terms of looking at the fulfillment of the prophetic word and celebrate it for what it is. I mean, I don't like anymore when we make Hanukkah the Jewish Christmas and go through all of that mishigas, the craziness, and celebrate it outside of its historical context and the hand of God being on the people. Well, you can say the same thing with the birth of the Messiah. The hand of God is there. He fulfilled his word. He came into the world. That's the focus.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of believers, they believe that,
I think people are listening to you, though, and how you talk about that, and they say, Ron Davis doesn't ever really have any fun in his life. He just...
I have lots of fun.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
See, but when do you get to kind of let loose and have a party and give everybody presents and that's what Seinfeld did Festivus for, probably. Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us.
I got to watch that episode again. That was good. Yeah. Well, okay. I get it.
Well,
I don't have a tree. You don't have a tree.
I got a lot of trees in my backyard.
That's right. You're constantly afraid that they're going to fall over and hit your house. But this is why we called it Oi to the World.
Yeah. You see? It's a perfect title.
That's it. Well, whatever it is that you're doing, and what I love about this year in particular, Hanukkah is building up. The last night of Hanukkah, night number 8, is on Christmas.
Yeah.
And there is a piece to this that we do get to celebrate the incarnation, that Jesus came as the light of the world, to bring that light, that we are also called to carry that light. And so there's a good connection, but I don't think I'm saying throw out your Christmas tree. I like 1 degree movements. Do something that's a little bit different this year that points your heart, your kids, your family back for, I hate even saying this, the reason for the season.
Come back, folks.
come back, right? And let God restore as much. But that's got to be a personal. You got to do a little bit of wrestling on all of that, for yourself. So, all right, did we beat that one with a billy club?
We did. We keep saying we're going to make it shorter and shorter, and we keep making them longer and longer.
I think this is a little bit shorter, but. Hey, no matter whether you are a Jew or a Gentile, we have written an ebook, and that ebook is called 5 Questions That Every Jew Should Be Asking About Christmas. And I'd say in light of this conversation, there are also questions that every Christian should be asking about Christmas as well. So you can get that on our website. It's the only place that you're going to find the word Christmas if you go to thejewishroad.com/Christmas. And we hope that this time is rich for you and your family. We're also approaching year end, and we are looking to do some really amazing, unique things in the new year. And we are going to invite you to come back for the very next and also the very last podcast of the season. We got one more to go. No, you love this. You're not cheering. You're going to be sad. But every once in a while, we need a little bit of a break. So... and Lord knows I need some breaking for the coughing. Can you hear that coughing? I'm going to give you a...
hit the button. What do you want?
It's not doing what it needs to do. It's unbelievable. We need 2 buttons over there. You're just going to be over there with 2 fingers just pushing down there all over the place. Hey, the next one, we're going to tell you our vision for 2023, and we're going to give you the best of Jewish humor. It's a classic. We always like to end our seasons with a little bit of the best of. So, until we get to talk next time, thanks for listening in and putting up with us. Boy, we're a lot. That's what our wives tell us too. So, till next time, Shalom Shalom Yerushalayim.
Yes. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Shalom.